Hello there, interwebs. I am the Bechtloff, and this is, of course, my podcast. Or according to Aaron Clary, it's more like, "Hello, interwebs. I am Bechtloff." Ah, Aaron Clary and Arini did a little video where they were busting on me and Matt Forney and Jack Donovan and Bernard Chaplin, and fuck you, Aaron. I don't sound like that. But no, I actually I'll put a link to it below. I thought it was cool. If for no other reason, I thought it was cool to be, you know, in the same considered even at all in the same category as those guys. Those are all great guys. All right, so the big news breaking right now is Metalgate breaking. Apparently, SJWs, feminist, social justice warriors, what have you, have decided they're gonna go after metal music now. I think they were gonna go after rap music, but they realized they might actually get shot that way. So I think they're gonna go after metal. That's their plan. And full disclosure, I guess, I am not a metal fan at all. Um, I can tolerate some of the '80s hair metal. For the most part, I consider, especially the rougher metal, I consider it absolute garbage. And I'm not some high-minded guy. I mean, I listen to quote-unquote low culture music. I listen to pop and rap and shit like that. And not to sound pretentious, I also listen to, shit like classical or, classic rock. But yeah, even classical music and shit. I have a reasonably wide variety of taste. In fact, pretty much metal and country are the only things I can't stand. And even country, I can deal with. I can deal with some of the country that's basically pop. Your Taylor Swift shit. I've said I love Taylor Swift actually. Um, and your older country, your kind of classic rock country. Your Johnny Cash shit like that. I love that stuff. Modern country though, most of it's just douchebag and cowboy hats to me. And metal, I can't fucking stand. It's just degenerate noise, in my opinion. I don't like heavy metal music at all. I don't particularly like the subculture at all. I think it's just crap. Um, I don't buy the quote unquote hardness of the metal subculture. As I said, I'm a fan of rap, and I mean that's a subculture that was founded by ex crackheads and pimps and drug dealers and shit. I mean, the early old guard rappers. I mean, some of them might have fucking killed motherfuckers. Tupac and Biggie were, at least if you believe some of the conspiracy theories, likely killed by people sent by the rival record company. So, I don't really buy the quote unquote hardness of metal. It just strikes me as a bunch of faggots that take Dungeons and Dragons too seriously. They're always wearing makeup and shit like that. These are hard metal bands. And yeah, I don't care for it. And I have a lot of friends that are into it. I really do. So, forgive me if I'm pissing you off. If you listen to this, I'm sorry. It's just not for me. I mean, I like a lot of metal people. I like Jordan Owen. I've chatted with him a bit. I would consider him a friend, and he has said he would consider me one. But I don't like metal. I don't. I'm not going to get into Jordan's band. Um, You're my two best friends in the world. Are huge metalheads. I mean, I often joke that they joke with me that they save gas with me because I guess the rule amongst us is whoever's driving gets to pick the radio station. So that pretty much means I'm driving all the time with these guys. But yeah, I don't particularly care for metal at all. But metal's not going to tolerate this shit. I'll give metal one thing, and I would have said this about rap too. USJWs are picking the wrong fucking fight here, because they got no patience for your nonsense. You are not going to get far in this at all. I mean, you managed to infiltrate geek culture because geek culture is just inclusive to a fault. We always have been. So we've managed to let you wolves in sheep clothing into our culture, and Gamergate is all about getting you out. It really is. I mean, yeah, Gamergate is about ethics and journalism, but ultimately, what is the cause of the unethical behavior? It's you fucking SJWs. So the people in Gamergate that are serious about solving the problem are the people that want to ostracize you out of the subculture. But metal's not going to tolerate your shit. They're not. They have no fucking patience for it. Because see, here's the thing with video games. If there's one thing video games have in common with metal, it's that both have spent most of their existence as a art form, and I begrudgingly use that term for metal, as an art form, catching a lot of shit from a lot of different sources that hate it. You know, video games have always faced persecution since basically the late 80s, early 90s. You know, the religious right people, and, oh, it's evil, and it's, you know, the soccer moms, oh, it's violent. Now the SJWs, oh, misogynies. Now, video games got popular in recent years, very popular, more so than ever before, more mainstream, and the real enthusiasts were so happy about it, they didn't necessarily care who was coming into their subculture. But see, that would never happen to metal, because first of all, I don't see metal making the real hardcore shit, I should say, death metal, black metal, whatever you want to call it. I don't see that ever becoming mainstream, and if it did, that little bit of the hipster vibe within them would take over, and you know, oh, you're not part of this culture, get out. You know, it's that kind of thing where once a band someone likes get popular, they say it's sold out, even if there's no change in the music. They sold out, man. You know, the internet aristocrat shit. Why are people making money? I don't want to pick on internet aristocrat too much, but not that he gives a shit what I say. But yeah, I don't. You know, to you SJWs, I don't think a subculture that literally has a significant number of it that are Satanists are going to entertain your secular moralizing faggotry, alright? And by the way, any of you metalheads want to fucking... Yes, you fucking have Satanists in your mix, okay? You fucking have... Not even the Anton Levy or whatever the guy's name is. Not that bullshit pseudo-Satanism that was just a spiritualized atheism. No, you got fucking devil worshippers in your mix. You do. Okay, I'm sorry, you do. And I realize that that's a sore subject with y'all because it gets thrown on all of you, and I know not every fucking band that uses satanic imagery is fucking worshiping the devil. I'm not stupid like that, alright? Any more than I think, you know, the creator of a Ghost Rider comic is worshiping the devil. And I know the vast majority of you are not fucking like that. I got that, okay? I know, don't spam my fucking comment section with it. It's not fucking like that. Alright, but you do have that in your fucking subculture, okay? You got that fucking streak running through your subculture. It's just there. Okay? Don't tell me that you can't think of a fucking... And I'm not that familiar. I couldn't name a bunch of them. Don't tell me you couldn't think of a fucking metal band that has maybe just ironically had a fucking satanic ritual or some shit on stage, or maybe actually does fucking worship the devil. And don't tell me you haven't encountered fucking fans that do. I know it's the fucking vast minority, okay, but it's certainly more prevalent in your fucking ranks than any other genre of music I can think of. But to you SJWs, you really think you got anything? And what, you think you're going to weed them out? No, you're not going to fucking weed them out. They don't want to hear it from you, okay? The entire reason the genre exists, the heavy metal especially, the death metal and shit like that, its whole fucking appeal is being against the system. That's why it sounds like shit. Because I guess sounding good would be what the man expects. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't even talk about metal without shitting on it. It really is just crap in my mind. I'm sorry. You know, any of my metal loving listeners, forgive me, okay? It just sounds like dog shit to me. It just sounds like fucking garbage. Just noise. It just sounds like noise. But the libertarian in me, even though I think your music is garbage, even though I think your subculture is shit, and has genuine fucking satanic elements running through it, I'd defend you against these vermin. I would defend you against the SJWs. I'd defend you left and right. True Voltaire statement, I guess. You know, I don't agree with your music, but I defend your right to have it. Because it you know, they'll go after anything they think they can. Now, I can't imagine what I don't know if it'll go anywhere. You know, everyone's, oh, it's Metalgate, because a couple articles have come out talking about metal has to change. I haven't read the actual articles. I saw the Sargon video, and a couple other videos have come out talking about it. I don't think that the social justice warriors are really gonna make a big move in this direction. I think you have a handful that are gonna piss and moan about it. But metal's under no real threat. I mean, look, the video games got huge. That's why they attacked it. You know, social justice warriors didn't give a shit about video games back when we were playing our Sega Genesis and our Super Nintendos, okay? Back when it was quote-unquote just kid stuff and only nerds play video games. Nobody, the social justice warriors didn't give a shit about it back then. But, you know, video games got so much more mainstream, so it was like, hey, let's just get the fuck in there and push our agenda. And it blew up in their face. Because I think that there's a real streak of libertarianism, lowercase libertarianism, running through geek culture, and I guess through metal too. Fucking no. I hate defending that subculture. I really do. I just fucking hate that music. Old fart Bechtloff doesn't get the young people, I guess. I don't know. I can't stand that music. It breaks my heart to say, because I genuinely love a lot of people that are hugely into it. So, you know, I'm not shitting on. You know, don't take it personally. People take their music so personally. Take people to fucking define themselves by what kind of music they like. It's always been so odd to me, because I guess personality wise, you know, people who would get to know me without knowing what kind of music, they would think I listen to rock at least, if not fucking metal. I don't even like modern rock, to be honest. Most of it just most of what you hear on a modern rock station, it pretty much all sounds like Nickelback. To me, at least. But people take their music so they find their fucking identity in what music they listen to, and I don't. I mean, I obviously don't. I listen to music that is not made for me, really. You know, I'm not the target audience to fucking gangster rap. You know, I'm not a 14-year-old girl, so I'm not the target audience for Taylor Swift. You know, I don't live 400 years ago, so I'm not the target audience for classical. I mean, you know, I don't live in the 70s, so I'm not the target audience for classic rock. I just like those things because I think they're good. But people get so defensive about them. So if you're like some fucking metalhead and you're sitting there with your arms crossed like, this fucking asshole, good fucking Christian dude thinks I'm the devil. Hey, calm down, dude. I'm not attacking you. And most of you are probably cool. Most of you don't get pissy and all. If you're listening to me, I think you're cool. That sounds like a very narcissistic thing to say, but seriously, if you're listening to this, you're probably not a little faggot that looking to get offended all the time anyway, so So yeah, Metalgate. I don't think metal's in any trouble. I don't think the SJWs are even going to really try and get anywhere, and they certainly won't if they try. But I don't even think they're going to try. I think even they know they're pissing up a rope on this one. While we're on the topic of music, it's obviously Christmas time here soon, and I fucking hate Christmas music. The majority of it's crap to me. I know I just shit on one music genre and shit on another, I guess. I mean, I like some of the older Christmas songs, like some of them that are more like hymns. Um, Beyond that, though, I mean, the majority of Christmas songs you hear, they're crap that was written in like the fucking 30s, and they're not even remotely culturally relevant, other than the fact that they just for some reason won't go away. What's that, like Walking in a Winter Wonderland song, and we can build a snowman and pretend he's Carson Brown. Do you know who the fuck Carson Brown is? Because I sure as hell don't. What the fuck is that song talking about? But, you know, everybody records a new fucking version of it. It sucks, but we do it because, well, we heard it for around Christmas time. You know, I mean, and I don't mind if a radio station wants to play some Christmas music. That's fine. But there's two radio stations in my area. I don't know what you'd call this quote unquote radio station type. Maybe you have them in your area and all. It's back in the 90s they used to call these the soft rock stations. I don't really know what you'd call them now, but they play top 40 stuff, but the top 40 stuff they play tends to be the stuff that gear or skews a little older. Like, shit. I don't know. They'd be less likely to play like Justin Bieber. Let me put it that way. You know, they'd play say, I don't know. Jeez, I'm showing my age here. I don't know. They might play the Backstreet Boys, but they wouldn't play One Direction. Like, they wouldn't play the stuff that's almost exclusively 12-year-old girl shit. But they'd play top 40 stuff, and they would tend to not play like anything with rap in it. In fact, the pop songs that often have a rap like chorus, like Snoop Dogg is in a Katy Perry song for some fucking reason, because that's just something that happens in music right now for some reason. You know, they'll cut that shit right out of the middle of it. But they also will play like a lot of 80s and 90s shit, like constantly Hootie and the Blowfish popping up on there all the time. And these easy listening stations, I guess. I don't know what you'd call them. But we got two in my area. 101 The Rose and Warm 103. And I find that I tend to listen to them. We tend to listen to them a lot at my job. And this has been true at past jobs, because there's such a middle of the road station. Like hardly anybody can't stand what's going on the roads. You know, it's just the quintessential middle of the road thing. You know, I tend to listen to those radio stations at work a lot. But we've all agreed at my day job we're not listening to it now, because both of them, starting before Thanksgiving, have switched their format to, I guess until January, 24/7 Christmas music. And they just do this in our area. This is just a thing, and supposedly everybody fucking loves it, although I have yet to meet one of these people. I think the reason they do it is because they know that stores will play their shit, because, you know, stores are blasting Christmas music because they want you to be in a Christmas mood to buy shit that nobody wants for people you don't even like. That sounded way more cynical about Christmas than I actually am. I'm just, Well, here's the thing with Christmas. I tend to be done my shopping before Thanksgiving. Almost entirely before Thanksgiving. In fact, half of it I do in the summer. Obviously, nerd here. I have a lot of nerd friends. And when I'm hitting like a convention, like a comic book convention, or here recently I hit that, back in September, I hit that Retro Game Con and all. When I'm hitting those places, I try to do some shopping for Christmas then. Because you can really find, like, really cool gifts and shit. Like, here's a good example. I think I've told this on my podcast before. I'll tell it again. There was a show on called Tales of the Gold Monkey, which was like an Indiana Jones ripoff, basically. And it was on around the time I was born. And my dad ended up missing an episode of it because he had to rush my mom to the hospital where water broke. So he used to always bust my balls, always tease me a little bit, lightheartedly, obviously. But like, oh, I miss Tales of the Gold Monkey for you. And so the one year I saw, like, at a Wizard World in Philly, somebody had, a lot of guys selling bootleg DVDs there. And it's always stuff you can't really get, like, that isn't available on DVD. And there was Tales of the Gold Monkey, the complete series. And these are really poor quality a lot of times, these bootlegs, because you can tell they were taped off TV and the commercials are cut out, but there's always a "we'll be right back" or some shit, or, now back to, and then, but you don't have to deal with the actual commercials. But yeah, Tales of the Gold Monkey, complete series. Can't get it legitimately. Maybe now you can, but back then you couldn't, at least. This was like '06 or something. So I got that from my dad, a little note in it, like, now we're even. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I like to do at these conventions. I like to try and get, your Christmas gift you couldn't just go to the mall and get. That's boring to me. I don't want to do that for my friends, for my family and all that. So with Christmas season, I don't tend to go to the malls, and I'm not much of a mall rat these days, anyways. But I don't tend to go out to those sort of places at all during December. I don't like dealing with the crowds. I don't like dealing. I just don't like it. And from a theological standpoint, I like that I'm able to focus on the more I like that I'm able to focus on the meaning of Advent season. I don't have to worry about stupid secular crap that goes with it. And it's not that there's something inherently wrong with that secular crap. I like getting Christmas presents, and I like giving Christmas presents. That's all well and good. It's nice to have nice things. It's nice to give nice gifts. But that's not what Christmas is about. Again, man, this is the old fart podcast. I sound like the fucking old fart. I'm listening to the fucking easy listening station and complaining about how I hate metal and these damn kids with their commercialized Christmas. This is the fucking old man Bechtloff podcast here. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't go to the mall and shit for Christmas. And 2 stations in my area play nothing but 24/7 Christmas music. That's gotta be a saturated market there. Who the fuck wants to listen to that? Because again, most Christmas music sucks. It's either shit that was written in the 30s that has zero cultural relevance. We just keep around to keep it around. None of us even know what the fuck any of it means. Or it's very, very stupid shit, like holiday crap, like that stupid Jewish Hanukkah song that Adam Sandler did. Damn, why did we all think he was so funny in the 90s? Or Grandma got run over by a reindeer or some stupid shit like that. It's crap. Ugh. But yeah, I don't like dealing with Christmas during December. It's nah. All right. A quick thing before I move on. I'm gonna talk some comics here, but probably not listening to it. But I'll give it a shout out. The other day I was on Twitter and somebody I follow had replied to a tweet from Michael Anismoff. I'm probably pronouncing it. I'm really bad at pronouncing names. But and I looked and he had me blocked. Like I couldn't see the tweet. And I checked and I had not interacted with this guy at all. And by the way, Twitter has switched it so if you're blocked you can't even see their Twitter feeds anymore. Which is, man, fuck the block button on Twitter. I swear, if I won the lottery, I'd buy Twitter just so I could just change getting rid of the block button. Watch the fucking SJW scurry. But yeah, he had me blocked. Michael, I don't really know much about you. From what I understand, you have a beef with Matt Forney and David Harini. And while they are very good friends with me, I have no fucking idea what your beef with them is. And I have no part of it. So I don't know why you have me blocked. I don't know what that's about. And I don't care if you have me blocked, really. I don't really know anything about you. I'm not looking to follow you. Uh, but if you should happen to hear this, I got no beef with you, man. I really don't. I I got no beef with you. You might have a beef with me, and which I really don't care if you do. You munch my ass if you do. But I got no beef with you. All right. You don't have to hide behind the block button on me. You and I are cool on my end. I don't know what I ever did to offend you, other than be friends with people you don't like. And I don't know. I don't know what y'all. I don't really know the particulars of your feud with them. But I got no beef with you. All right, man. All right. So moving on from that, comics. Gonna talk some comics because I am a fucking nerd. Uh, First off, I have a Ask.fm, which I just got. It's easy to attach it to your Twitter. And I got a couple of questions. And one of them was asking me what I thought of a comic book called Crossed. And I had never fucking heard of this comic. But I did a little Google research on it. I want to talk about it for a minute here. Crossed is a very interesting premise. The idea is it's like a zombie virus. But the infected, they're not really zombies. It's more like, well, first of all, they're called the Crossed because a red cross-shaped, roughly, like, scar appears on their face, or rash appears on their face when they're infected. But what it does to them is it basically makes them act out the most fucked up evil things in their head. Like, it makes them, they're still them, but they're just the most absolutely evil version of them they can be. So that's actually a solid premise. You could probably do some cool stuff with it. And for all I know, some of the writers on this series have. But based on just some Google image searches and just reading about it and all, it sounds like it's pretty much just fucking torture and murder and gore porn. It's some of the most heinous. It's frankly shocking, and I like horror movies. I'm not easily shocked, but I was, and I can go back and look at those pictures now. But the initial time, I'm like, this is, ugh, this is fucking gross. Yeah, babies being fed into wood chippers and all manner of sexual violence. I don't even particularly want to get into. And mind you, I mean, it should shock you, but it just kind of brings up an interesting point to me. What is the difference between horror, true horror, and just murder porn? Like, I wouldn't call the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre murder porn. But that's because I feel like you identify with the characters. You know, it's shocking, but it's not just there for its own sake. It's so hard to nail down. But yeah, there's something about it's one of those things where it's like, what's the difference between pornography and art? You know, does a love scene in a movie make it pornographic? Well, it could be. You know, it's so hard to tear down. But my initial impression of Crossed is not good. And the writer who created the first arc of it, other writers have taken over, Garth Ennis. He's one of those guys that, like, I really liked when I first discovered him as a teenager. I discovered him reading a lot of his Punisher stuff. And then you begin to realize that it's just nothing but shock value and nastiness from him after a while. And so, I get the feeling that that's what Crossed is. But I say all that because it's an interesting topic, but I haven't really formulated. What is the difference, the true difference between horror and just murder porn, you know? That's an interesting topic. I would be interested to see any comments and all in there, because it's so hard to describe the difference, but I think you kind of know it when you see it. And again, Cross is a great premise. I think you could do some really interesting stuff with it. I think it would be really fascinating to look. Like, maybe some of the infected, there's still a slither of the untainted person in them, for lack of a better term. Like, there's still a part of them that knows, like, holy shit, what am I doing? And is horrified by it, but can't stop themselves. Every fucked up thing that comes into their head, because we all have that, it's, no truly good person among us, except for the guy 2,000 years ago nailed to a tree. We all have that fucked up part of us and all. Somebody cuts you off in traffic and you just think, I could just run him off the road and switch his head around 180. But you don't do that because, well, first of all, there are consequences. But second of all, it's wrong. There's no reason to do it. He was just probably late for work. But it doesn't mean that doesn't pop into your head. And then if you couldn't, like, imagine if just every fucked up thing that popped into your head you had to act on, but there was still a part of you that's like, why am I doing this? That would be really interesting to explore. But again, I get the feeling it's just the writers, like, what fucked up thing can I make the artist draw now? Which, by the way, go ahead and Google image search Cross Comics. It's funny. I right after I saw it, I was like, oh, that's horrifying, and I texted it to my buddy. And now I can look at the things and all. I mean, the shock value wears off. It wears off. But the initial shock value when you show it to somebody is always priceless. Like, I tweeted at my buddy. I was all like, hey, man, somebody just brought a comic book to my attention called Crossed. Do a Google image search of it, if you dare. Which I knew he'd have to at that point. He's like, whoa, this guy just called me a pussy. And so he texts me back like 5 minutes later. He goes, I never want to talk about it again. So yeah, go do a Google image search of Crossed Comics. Fucking nasty. Alright. While we're on comics, of course, the big thing I want to talk about, Spider-Verse. This is an interesting story going on. And if you don't know, in the Spider-Man comics, there are these beings, these like immortal energy vampires that are going around the multiverse and killing any and every Spider-Man, woman, boy or girl, anybody with spider powers, anybody with the totem essence of the spider, like spider essence in their life force. They're going around and draining, like energy vampire, draining their life force. So they're just cutting a swath across the multiverse, from parallel universe to parallel universe, killing every version of Spider-Man or other spider people they can find. So a bunch of versions of Spider-Men have gotten together and are trying to fight back. Now, this is a premise that on the surface is right up my alley, because I love the idea of the multiverse. The scientific theories behind it are fascinating to me. And also, it's just an amazing storytelling tool in science fiction and fantasy. And I love Spider-Man. Always have. Although, One More Day, that storyline really, really hurt my love of Spider-Man. I still like him. But Dan Slott, the main writer on this, is really butchering this story in a lot of ways. This story is clearly too much for him to handle. There's so many... Like, they're all hiding in this universe where the Spider-Man of that universe has Captain Universe powers. And I'm getting really nerdy if you're not following the books, but, Captain Universe is this... It's this force that turns people into Captain Universe for a certain mission. Like, that was the hook behind this concept. Anybody could be Captain Universe. It would turn a random person. And sometimes it turns superheroes into Captain Universe, which they have the Captain Universe powers plus whatever powers they also had. And Captain Universe powers are like just your generic cosmic superhero powers, like Silver Surfer or something. Flight, energy blast, really strong, really, really practically invulnerable, that kind of thing. Well, there was a story back in the 80s where Spider-Man got Captain Universe powers and then obviously lost them. Well, in this universe, he stayed Captain Universe. And he was supposedly, this was the home base because he was like, the inheritors, they were called, they won't dare come here because I'll kick their ass. But I can't go to their universe and kick their ass because the Captain Universe powers are tied to this universe. It's tied to the universe it's in. I lose those powers when I just become just another Spider-Man when I lose. Well, one of the inheritors comes to this home base and just proceeds to make complete short work of him. He's like, well, Captain Universe is really just kind of a life force, and I drain life force, and everything, it felt so ridiculously anticlimactic. Everything about this feels I shouldn't say everything. So many parts of it feel mishandled on the part of Dan Slott. Like, here's another example. Last year, there was a storyline called Superior Spider-Man, in which Doc Ock had taken over Spider-Man's body and was bound and determined to be the quote-unquote better Spider-Man, the Superior Spider-Man. Well, Peter eventually gets control back. But they brought Superior Spider-Man into this storyline as one of the Spider-Man. Now, you would think the way you do that is you just say, okay, well, here's a universe where Peter never got control of his body back. That would be the smart fucking way to do that. No, they decided to do it with fucking time travel. Dan Slott further complicating an already complicated story. And already you got to pull out the fucking Marvel Encyclopedia. Because a lot of these universes he's showcasing are universes that we've seen before, past universes. And he's getting some stuff wrong on a couple of these. Part of it is there's no editors anymore. Editors at Marvel and DC used to do the very important job of keeping shit straight. You know, when you're at Marvel or DC, you obviously have a shared universe, indeed multiverse, because there's other universes. But there's just a basic idea of Marvel and DC. There's a shared universe. You know, Superman and Batman and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and the Teen Titans and the Justice League and the Justice Society and Swamp Thing and Constantine all live in the same fucking universe. Alright? So you can't have shit happening in one of those books that contradicts shit that happened in another book. You can't have shit happening in one of those books that contradicts shit that happened in a book 2 months ago. Or even a few years ago. You can't have that shit. You need to try and keep it straight. So editors used to do that. Same at Marvel. Some shit can't be going on in the X-Men books that completely contradicts what's going on in Fantastic Four. Because they live in the same fucking world. Now, obviously we haven't always done a perfect job of that. But that is a responsibility of editors. And it's a responsibility in the last 10 years editors have completely shirked. They've completely ignored that responsibility in favor of pushing their own fucking bullshit on the stories, in favor of, you know, Dan Didio has destroyed DC with the bullshit he's pushed onto it with this New 52 crap of letting Jim Lee have all this creative control. You know, Joe Quesada put a stain on the Spider-Man franchise with his fucking One More Day shit, because Spider-Man can't be married because he should have a fucking Oedipus complex with his aunt. Fuck you, Joe Quesada. So yeah, Dan Slott is really fucking up Spider-Verse in a lot of ways. And here's the thing about Dan Slott. Dan Slott is an SJW faggot, and Anita Sarkeesian supporting faggot. Mind you, for the most part, a pretty good writer. Not a great writer, pretty good writer. But he's one of these SJW faggots. And he's one of these people, and you can tell. Here's the bullshit about Dan Slott. Dan Slott bitches on his Twitter all the time about, and blocks people left and right, and bitches like, somebody gave me a death threat one time. He made a big stink about it a year ago, when he started the Superior Spider-Man thing a couple of years ago, that somebody sent him a death threat about it. Nut the fuck up, Dan. Everybody on the internet gets death threats. I've gotten death threats, at least one, and I'm pretty fucking small time. You're writing Marvel's flagship character. Of course you have fucking death threats. Fucking deal with it. If you think it's a credible threat, go to the cops. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Can we make this a rule in our society now? Stop fucking telling people about your death threats. Stop wearing them as a fucking shield. Enough already. I don't want to fucking hear it. Alright? Somebody told me they wanted to skull fuck me to death because I don't like the Mexican Blue Beetle. Alright? That's a rape and a death threat. That's a fucking double threat right there. No pun intended. I don't give a shit. I have no reason to believe that they have either the ability or the intention to make good on it. I only ever bring it up to point out that even a small-time fucker like me it happened to. Of course it happens to you. Fucking deal with it. But no, Dan Slott is an SJW, and like a typical SJW, he has too good of an opinion of himself, and he doesn't know when he needs help. And he needs help with this story. He had a great potential, he had a great setup, he could have done great things with it, but he needed people around him to help him with this story, to tell him fucking no on some of this stuff. And he's screwing this up. I really think Spider-Verse is going to be completely off the fucking rails by the time it's done. And it breaks my heart to say that. Because I want it to be the best fucking story in the history of superhero comics. Because it's like my two favorite fucking things. What more could appeal to the kid in me than like, here's all the Spider-Men. Like, that's so fucking cool. But he's gonna screw the pooch on it. Alright. Last thing. I always try to end on a high note if I can. I just got Captain Toad today on the Wii U. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Only played it for about half an hour so far. But it's fucking fantastic. And I knew it would be. I knew it would be because there were Captain Toad levels in Marvel 3D World. Or, not Marvel. Mario 3D World, I'm sorry. And they were great. And Captain Toad is great. It's not like a platformer, it kind of is. But Toad can't jump because he's got all this gear. And it's more of a puzzler. But it's really good. It's very, very good. Other thing I got in the last couple weeks is I got some Amiibos. Yay, Amiibos. These are Nintendo's attempt at Skylanders. And they're not that great. The sculpt on them is gorgeous. I got a Samus one because I happen to have enough store credit to... I happen to have exactly $13 store credit. Last time I traded some games in at my local used game store. And I don't go GameStop. I go Press Play in my area because they do retro stuff too. And that's mostly what I'm into. Plus, I mean, not to sound like a faggot that's like, going to farmer's market or some shit like that. But yeah, I do like to support my local businesses when I can. If they're shit, I'm not going to. But if they're good, yeah, I'll support them. But yeah, I go to Press Play and I happen to have $13 store credit. And he basically was like, well, the Amiibos are... Because I was looking at him. He's like, well, they're $12.99. You can just call it even on that. You don't worry about the tax. So I took Samus home because I'm really into the Metroid games here lately. And as an early Christmas present, I got a Kirby. And I mean, there's typical stuff like you can nickname them. Like I nicknamed my Samus Sugar Tits because I'm just, I got the soggiest of knees. And I nicknamed Kirby Jack, Jack Kirby. Legendary comic book artist. But there's not much for you to do with them. I mean, you play them in like Smash Brothers. And they fight. You don't fight as them. They fight. You can fight them. You can fight alongside them. You can have them fight the CPU. And they level up each time, but then they max out at 50. And they level up each fucking match, so you're going to max them out in no time. I don't really see what you do with them. So far, the coolest thing they do is they look really cool on my video game shelf. They're quote-unquote compatible with two other games. Hyrule Warriors and Mario Kart 8. And when I read that online, I was fucking thrilled. I was like, holy crap, I have both those games. You tell me I can like race as Kirby in Mario Kart, or I could like play as Samus in fucking Hyrule Warriors? That's fantastic. Or I could have Samus fighting alongside Link or something. Who the hell knows? This is going to be great. I can't wait. Nope. Some of them, not all of them, some of the Amiibos, like half of them, if you attach them to your Mario Kart for your Mii driver, which I never fucking use, you can unlock a helmet and bike that is themed like your Amiibo character. Like for Samus, it would like the helmet and bike are kind of like Metroid Samus themed. Whoopee jack shit. And for Hyrule Warriors, if you have the Link or Toon Link ones, you can unlock a certain weapon. You have the same with like Zelda. Zelda and Sheik will unlock certain weapons. That's it. These amiibos, they look cool, but Nintendo, you're gonna have to do something else with them. You're gonna have to do maybe like a Skylanders type game that's just made for amiibos, or just some future stuff. I mean, you're gonna have to do something more with them. And maybe I'm even Nintendo doesn't need my fucking advice, because I mean, these amiibos are selling like hotcakes. I have fucking two, and I swore I wasn't gonna get into them. So, I mean, maybe Nintendo doesn't need my advice on how to handle this, but I would say if you want this to last long term, if you want to compete with Skylanders and Disney Infinity, you need to be able to do more with these things. Because Skylanders has better gameplay from what I understand. Never really got into Skylanders. And, I mean, Disney Infinity, it's got Disney and Pixar and Star Wars and Marvel characters. I mean, I heard somebody describe online, like, Disney Infinity is awesome because I just fought Venom as Tinkerbell using a lightsaber. So you're gonna have to do more characters, Nintendo, and you're gonna have to do more with them. I would think, if you want this to compete long term. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a nerd ranting on the internet. That's my time this week, folks. Thanks for listening. Bechtloff out.